Hello everyone, K Kim here from Traders Club. Thank you very much for tuning in today. And today we're going to be looking at a couple indexes and a few stocks that I'm watching and I'm currently involved in. So let's get right to it. And currently you're looking at Dow Jones Industrial Average, ETF, DIA, and this is a daily chart. So what we're looking at here currently is that we've had just phenomenal run, right? Ever since right here on November Thanksgiving weekend. I remember this day because I've been shorting this all the way down here, and then we had a little hammer showed up. And with high volume, remember the hammer showing up in the bottom after a trend, after a bearish trend or after a bullish trend. If hammer show up, same as when shooting star show up, that's kind of could be the same effect. Even though this shooting star hasn't been honored, that shooting star didn't get honored either. So it's kind of like when you see this. And then you see that, and then most of people look at that, and most of technical analysis, and they do their analysis according to candlesticks and whatnot. And then if they they see something like that, they'll start to change their decision, or they'll start to change their sentiment of the overall market. And then you get the gap up, then that's really a jump start there. And that's what we had, this phenomenal run, and that's great that we had this kind of run. And then we had this grind, just what I call it nothingness, and for a while, and this was when this was happening, when this was just upside, up and down movement, then it's been very boring day. And then we got some action there, which it made things a little bit more interesting. However, very resilient bulls continue to come and attack, and we are continuing to grind higher. What I mean by grinding higher, I don't see these. When I look at that, I want you to look at that for a minute. Okay, do you see a strength there? I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with candlesticks. These little bitty candles, like we got doji there, we got spinning top there, we got just a little, I don't know, it's just a little thingy there, right? And then we got this also thing, and with the falling volume also, it just gives that vibe of just like, man, it's almost like this kid, trying to run up, but you can see, man, this kid doesn't have any like strength. Like this is not only he doesn't have any strength to go out any higher, but he's weak. You know what I mean? You can see like his hands are flapping everywhere. You know what I mean? And just like he looks funny when he runs. That's a good word. He looks funny when have you seen these? I'm sorry making fun of these guys, but you see some guys, and I'm one of those guys. You run and they look funny, like they're not athletic or something like that. And I'm like that. I'm not very athletic. So that's kind of what it looks like. This does not look like athletic movement. It doesn't look like that at all to me. Even this move over here, we continue went higher, but it did not look very solid. In my opinion, you know what I mean? We just didn't see very strong move coming in, and I guess maybe that's how usually it seems like that's how indexes move. Instead of moving more of a bigger runs like these. But I guess those are big days. We haven't seen any of those except this day. We've seen that. But what I am looking at though is that when I go to weekly, let's go to weekly here, and they're just certain run they go to, and this is exact same size candles here, exact same size arrows, and here we did a lot longer, right? We had this longer run, but then here we are what we're doing right now is, if I put this here, we have been looking at this rising wedge formation, which we broke out of that. Okay, we broke out of that. Let me just draw that a little bit better there. That looks, and we broke out of that, and that is essentially very bullish sign. Not only that, if we go there on weekly on Dow Jones ETF, DIA, we were breaking out of all-time high as well, and that looks very bullish to me, right? We're breaking out of the all-time high. We're you know what I mean? Are we breaking out all-time high as in the index as well? That was DIA, and this is actual index. Yes, this is actual index itself, and also breaking out also index too. So let's go back to ETF here. So this is where public is very optimistic because we are breaking out and market is bullish. I mean, this is where we could just continue to go, right? But man, when I look at some of the movement I've seen here just I don't know, last week or so, it just seems very weak. It just doesn't seem that athletic. But it is going higher. It is grinding higher. And just also, volume has been declining. And, with the, while the trend is up, volume is declining. Volume must confirm the trend. But then there's another Dow theory suggests that a trend is assumed to be in effect until it gives us definite signal of reversal. So, we haven't had any kind of definite signal of reversal yet. This day, that was a just very early indication that we could have some kind of a retracement, but we didn't get that, and we continued. And as of now, that doji doesn't tell me much because we've had dojis that just kind of just continue on. Plus, doji with the low volume doesn't mean anything. We need some high volume dojis, if anything to confirm, which it seems like in Dow Jones that's not the case. But however, I just feel like this move here, I won't chase it. If you are long in this trade, I would continue to ride it until it doesn't work anymore. However, if you're not in this trade, I won't chase it. I won't get into it. I won't short. I won't go long. I will wait. I will wait until what's gonna happen. I will go long. I will go short with stocks, but with indexes, I won't do that right now. It just I just think that just these moves that this been showing this even last few days, it just doesn't convince me. It doesn't convince me that there's a strong move coming up. You know what I mean? Even back here, we kind of saw something similar here that it just kind of grinded up a little bit, and then we had an initial retracement, a little bit pullback for I don't know, about 2 weeks or so, and then we gathered some momentum. We found some support here at 250 EMA, and then we thrust. So even at this point, we're probably looking at some pullback if it's gonna thrust higher, right? Even here, we grinded for a month, and then we had that just huge bearish day. And after that, bulls gathered some momentum, and they were able to thrust. So it's just kind of like when it's just grinding like this higher up, I don't think that we just gonna all of a sudden have a just huge bullish day. I mean, anything could happen. You know what I mean? Anything is possible in the market, but what are the probabilities of that happening? Just looking at the past chart here on this Dow Jones daily chart, we just haven't seen that yet. You know what I mean? You can see this is just perfect grind here. Just a lot of dojis, a lot of spinning tops, just a lot of itty bitty candles there, and then we had the initial the pullback, and then we were able to gain some momentum. But initially bulls got higher. I think this whole move here from here they did push higher, but just weren't able to push any longer, and then initially formed that bigger scale of double top, and then they had that about 3 weeks or so, maybe a month of bearish trend there, and then they were able to find some strength again. So what I'm looking at here is a couple things that is going to happen. We're gonna either tomorrow, this week, end of this week, or next week, gonna go higher, and then it could just start to form a triple top or double top or some kind of consolidation pattern before it's gonna have its retracement. Or we're gonna have an initial retracement, and then we're gonna push through, strong push maybe, and then we're gonna have an initial consolidation pattern somewhere there before it gets its retracement. It needs its rest. Just like we can't forever run, we need to have a rest before we can continue, right? Just like the market had a phenomenal run anyway, so I'm not surprised if we just form some kind of consolidation here and have some kind of retracement, so we can have some kind of have some time to rest and compose itself, and maybe have another bullish run. I don't know, but I just think that it just so much it can push. It's been pushing. It's been trying hard. I just feel like there's a lot of public that getting in right now, knowing that we're at the all-time high. But I want you to look at something on the weekly chart here. Something I found. It's kind of fascinating that I do a lot of candlestick sentiment studies and things like that. And if you look at this candle, this is a weekly on Dow Jones. So this one candle represents 1 week. If you look at that candle and look at that volume, you see that huge volume spike. But it's a tiny candle. It's almost the dragonfly doji kind of like. It's not really. Dragonfly doji wouldn't have any wick at the top to be textbook, but it has that sentiment. But it is a doji, and it has a little body. So I don't want to argue. Let's not get into it right now. But anyway, so compared to this big bullish day, which had a very weak volume, we had just humongous volume. And just looking at the almost, I'm gonna call that quote unquote almost dragonfly doji there. And I want to come back here. We have another one right there. You see that one? You see that one? And look at that volume. And it's not, huge volume, but just comparing to from the week before. Just compare from that week before volume. I mean, it's a little bit higher, but just from that, you know what I mean? From that little doji, that there was a higher volume than the big candle that had a week before. Another one here somewhere that I found. Where is it? Where are you? Right here. Another dragonfly just flying around here. I think that's about it. So, what I see, I'm just looking at just 1 year time frame. You can see that 2012, 2013. When dragonfly dojis do show up, it feels like it's, looking at this is a weekly chart. It seems like, this day and this March of 2012, initially we did have a thrust, but that was about it, because we basically found some resistance there, and then we had that 1 month of bearish trend forming, or correction. I want to call it correction forming. But at this level, we did have a 2 weeks of grind, and then we have 2 weeks of downturn, and then we have a huge 2 weeks of thrust, and then we form about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so about a month and a half bearish run there, correction there. So here we got dragonfly doji. So is this where we're gonna have start moving sideways just like it did here, and then maybe a double top and then correct, or something like here that it's gonna go up higher, little pullback, and then thrust, and then sideways, and then come down. I don't know, but what I'm saying, what I can tell you is correction is coming very soon, because even here after this dragonfly doji with the high volume, even here 2 weeks of we grinded higher 2 weeks, and then we had the initial decline. That's a 2 weeks of a correction. So if we go to daily chart, this is what that was, that correction, and then dragonfly doji kind of happened here because it was all grinding here. So that's kind of what happened, and then we had that thrust, and then this leaning triple top, and then initially that's what we got. But after this run here, after about a week later, that's kind of what we formed that that consolidation pattern, and more like a topping pattern here. So that's what we could expect. I really feel like time is ticking, and this is where this. It could go either way. It could just start to form triple top, double top, or some kind of consolidation formation here, or it could come down a little bit and then thrust, and then we're gonna do that. But sooner or later, that's what it's gonna do. And I believe it's gonna come pretty soon, probably early as maybe end of this week or next week. And unless we get this kind of correction where it's kind of a grinding correction, not this kind of sharp downside move. If we get this kind of correction where it kind of comes down, like this kind of leggy type, that could give us another week of that, and then thrust, and I need more data to kind of assess that. But right now, just looking at this upper movement with the low volume, that's kind of what we saw even here. Upper movement here, low volume, right? You know what? This here we had that upper movement. We had one initial thrust of high volume, but I guess that wasn't enough because that came back down. So I mean, just this trend here, it was never really backed up with the volume. So when it did come with volume, that wasn't that wasn't enough at that point because we needed some rest, and we got that rest. So those things could happen. I also quickly I wanted to look at my oscillators. Okay, this is daily chart on the oscillators. This Dow Jones ETF, DIA, and you can see that we are getting at that overbought status. Okay, and this does not mean just because we're getting to that level does not mean that it has to roll over. Money flow index, there's a lot of room to go still. But Stoke, RSI, MACD are getting there. However, they could stay there for a while. They don't have to just because they get into overbought, they don't have to just roll over. You know what I mean? They can stay there just like here. We were overbought at this point, but how long has it been grinding? Excuse me. How long has it been grinding? I mean, look at that. It's about a month. This is a month time. It just grind at the top and stock keep going. We can do that here. We can just keep grinding and the stock could just continue to go up. So this isn't something I look at and say, well, I'm gonna go short just because we're at the over top. And I don't trade it that way. Okay, that's not how we trade. And some people do that. I don't do that because it could initially just keep it just could keep cycle at the top of the band, and then it could just continue to go on. What I also wanted to look at is a weekly chart. Weekly chart here, we are getting at that overbought status as well. And this is where, I'm going to be a little bit concerning about the overall market because we have now daily and weekly is getting into that overbought status, not just daily. Because many times, more often than not, when you have daily overbought and you go to weekly, you look in like, wow, there's still have a lot of room to go. You see that happening a lot. But here we have a daily chart getting to that. We're not okay. There's a little bit more room to go, but getting to that overbought status, and also weekly chart getting we're grinding at the weekly or overbought status there. I mean, look at this. This is a weekly, but yet this whole month, this is not even a month. Look how many months that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months just at overbought. 5-6 months at overbought. I mean, here 3 months at overbought status. So just because we're at overbought status doesn't mean it's gonna come back down here. It's definitely not. That's not what's gonna happen. What it could do if stock continues to go higher, this could just keep doing that. Just keep doing that. It's just a reference for me to look at and say, where are we at? Are we getting close to overbought? Are we getting close to maybe a little pullback here? That's what we're looking for. But nevertheless, that I'm not gonna look at that and be like, hey, we're overbought, so it has to come down. It doesn't have to come down. And let's just go to SPY too. SPY, same thing. SPY, Diamond or Dow Jones, they're all same. And again, here this whole time on this weekly chart, SPY, we grind it, right? Look at it, grind it, right? It just kept moving. So if people are looking at this, oh, we're overbought here, so I'm gonna go short, but it just kept oscillating. I'm like so excited about the overbought, oscillating at this top. This level here, top level here, and this here just continue to oscillate, continue to grind. So you can do that. These things just can continue to do that. So I wouldn't look at that and be like, hey, this is overbought, so it has to come down. It doesn't have to come down. It doesn't have to come down. So again, going back here, let's look at SPY. Going back here, trend is assumed in effect until it gives us definite signal of reversal. That's Dow Theory 1, Dow Theory 2. Volume must confirm the trend. So volume is not confirming the trend, but trend is, we gotta assume that it just continue to be in effect because we don't have any kind of reversal signal yet. I mean, on this day there was, let me just tell you, this is fortunate for this market after we see some huge bearish selling pressure like this coming, and we were able to survive it and continue to go on like this. Very fortunate that it happened. I'm glad that it is happening, but I just feel like we are losing. This run here doesn't seem very athletic, and it's questionable at best that how long could it go, how much could it go before it could have are we gonna have an initial pullback like this before it could just have another thrust and then triple top, or are we gonna do something like that and just kind of form some kind of a consolidation pattern here somewhere up here at this level? Because what I was also looking at here, this is what I was also looking at. Oh, let's go daily here. Also looking at, we had a pullback there, we had a pullback there, we had a pullback there. You see those three pullbacks? Those are the three pullbacks that I've been also watching. And then after that, we had that initial run, and then that was it. After the run, we had that that consolidation pattern, and then market had that correction move. So this is where looking at these pullbacks, is this where we're going to have a correction? I don't know, but once I start to see some kind of a corrective move and some more data, then I can say that, hey, this is where it's going to do, and then you know what I mean. So currently we don't have that. So just quickly, I want to look at QQQ as well. QQQs continue to just not finding momentum. Okay, I mean, you look at this, and this is a this is daily chart on QQQ, and you can see that huge head and shoulders here, and I'm still talking about it, and I still think that there's a potential this could play out. This is a very dangerous signal just because it's happening at the top of its move. Okay, it is happening. It is happening here. It's not happening here or here or here. It's happening after this huge bullish run. I mean, this is where this is a weekly chart on QQQ, by the way, guys, and you can see here we had an initial head and shoulders here. I mean, that had a huge decline. You can see that was dangerous because it formed after a huge run. That's when it gets, when head and shoulder forms after a huge bullish run, that's when it gets dangerous. When this forms here, this is where you don't have to worry about it much, because it doesn't have that much potency. That's not gonna work out as well. That's why when Apple formed daily head and shoulders and weekly at the top of its move, that's when it got really dangerous. So this is where I'm gonna be worried looking at tech sectors this year, and hopefully it could continue on, and then so we don't have to worry about the head and shoulder. But if it does roll over at this point, we could see some sizable downturn there, and this is a neckline. It might never have to play out. It could just come back here and bounce, but we don't know that right now. We don't even know if it's gonna even come back down. But one of the things I'm worried about is we had this huge long consolidation pattern. This is what, 2 months period, did nothing. I call this nothingness, right? This is just where this is just such a grind, that this was such a boring months to just trade, right? If you're trading QQQ itself. And then we broke out, right? And many times when it breaks out of a consolidation pattern, you would think it will find some momentum pretty quickly. Like it would just, whoa, we just broke out, like boom, boom, boom. That's not what we saw. I mean, where are we? Where is this finding support? I mean, resistance. That's what I want to ask, because this was initial resistance level that it was really struggled to get over. You know what I mean? You can see a lot of selling pressure at these levels. But we came up, we broke that resistance. So where is the sellers coming in now? I mean, where is the resistance now? We're not even at this top here. I mean, we're in the middle of it. I mean, it would have been, usually you see the breakout, and then you would just continue to go on, and then maybe go to 71 area. But that's not what we saw. We're finding, just kind of very oddly, we're just kind of hovering around at this level, with the gap open there. That's actually dangerous when gap is open and it's not going up higher like that, because usually gap is kind of a jump start. It could just gap up and it should jump start, but it didn't do that. So it could, if it does gap down, this making an island reversal top pattern, which it could be dangerous signal, could be very lethal reversal signal. So I'm gonna be watching this, and possibly I don't know if I want to go long on this yet, just because the market as a whole, with the Dow Jones and S&P 500 looking pretty weak there, not, you know, quote unquote, not so athletic looking. And QQQ with that head and shoulders pattern, you know, just you know what I mean. I think that even if it comes out, if it starts to run, I don't know if I want to go long just because we don't have much room here. But I wouldn't mind going short if it starts to, you know, roll over here and starts to retrace and, you know, break below this level, you know, because of this head and shoulders level there. So, you know, so quickly, actually before looking at different stocks, excuse me, you know, basically my thought about the overall market is this. I just feel like market is in bullish trend, and I'm gonna assume that it is in bullish trend. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna start going long on the market, but I am going long with different stocks and whatnot, you know. But I just think that the move has been weak, and I think that there's gonna be a retracement coming up soon here. So and I'm not sure if it's gonna be, you know, where it's gonna form a triple top, or, you know, we could have maybe a small retracement and just a thrust. I'm not sure. I don't. Nobody knows at this point. I just think that I just can't trust this run, and I don't know how far it's gonna continue to grind like this. So that's kind of my thought on this, and, you know, just I'll call it a bullish run with you know, not athletic moves, you know. Excuse me. And I do want to look at, before I go, I do want to look at Apple, because Apple just don't find what should I say? Don't find a good break. You know, it's just never, you know, because this is first time where you saw a lot of white candles coming up. I mean, this one had a big volume. We haven't had this kind of volume for a while. We had that. And we had another white candle coming. We had another one coming with pretty solid volumes came too, and 420 being pretty solid support. So for buyers to come in at these levels, it is expected. It's expected. I expected it. I expect 420 to be pretty strong, solid support. But however, we are finding resistance at this level, all support becoming a new resistance here, and you know, it just not finding a good break here. And let me go to 65 minutes here, and I was looking at this here, this possible rising channel. I just, you know, we're still there, you know, we're still just, it didn't completely broken out to the downside, so we don't know what could happen tomorrow, but it didn't get up here. Okay, we are in the process of making what, the lower highs. You know what I mean? We've been making, you know, higher lows, and this is a place where it needs to go up. If it doesn't, if it comes down, make a lower lows, and then comes up to test that as a new resistance and come back down. And then if that happens, I think for sure. Again, I don't like using the language for sure, because nothing is for sure, but I would say high probability that we will probably come back down here and break 420, because this is where, you know, bears had this run, let bears rest a little bit, where bulls trying to take this lead, and then now here is bull. If this is coming down, that bull said, bears said, well, that's it, you're done, I'm not gonna let you lead anymore. So bears coming back, and then they're going to come back down, push it, rest, bulls come up, hit that as a resistance level, this just rising channel, support becoming new resistance, and if that falls from that level, we're going to break 420. High chance that we're going to break 420. So tomorrow, but, you know, that's where I'll be watching, if this thing is going to come back down and make a, you know, lower lows, and then, you know, test that as a new resistance level. If it does and rolls over, you know, that's where it probably 420 level is going to break. In my opinion, you know, we go daily chart, it's gonna look something like this. You know, what we could see is come down here, and then come back up, and then down like that, or even come halfway. Or if there's enough momentum, we could just push it down through. I don't know, but I'm just giving you different scenarios of what could happen, what I am expecting it to happen. I mean that, and this is something that I do a lot, is I always put these different scenarios that could happen, like all different, because then I can, when I see one, I know what to do with it, right? If I know every different scenarios that it's gonna do, right? It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like you guys watch 24, and like I said, I'm a late bloomer, so I don't. I just don't watch TV shows when it's on air, like on TV, because I hate watch. First of all, I hate watching commercials. Second, I hate waiting for the next episode next week. So I never got into 24, but recently I found on Netflix, and they have like, oh, full season. I've been watching it, and I love it because I can watch it how many I want, whenever I want. I don't have to wait through a TV commercial. Anyway, but if you guys know the story, is that Jack Bauer, he always have every scenario planned out. He knows what the enemy is gonna do. So then everything that they throw at him, he usually knows what they're gonna do, which way they're gonna attack. So he knows where to hide. Even there's a trap, then he will get into that trap but use it for his advantage. Things like that. So what I like to do, kind of put that in a perspective, is that there's multiple ways this could play out, and then I want to deal with it. This could get up and then just continue, go higher and then make this channel survive, or this could come back down and then come back up and test as a new resistance and then follow 420, or this could just continue to tank from this time. And this is the three scenarios that I really see that could be happening. You know what I mean? If we go to just a daily chart here. Let's go back. Just if bigger scale, it just really looked like bigger scale bull flag and bear flag. You can see that this really looks like bear flag because it just feels like volume came up at that candle, but ever since then, ever slightly, it's not like huge decline like this here, but there's some decline there, and so it's just they weren't able to just top that volume, just some kind of thrust coming. It just we didn't get that. So it could be forming that bearish flag here. Also, here I want you to look at weekly chart, because weekly chart is very important here. This is. So that was flag, and that was a stair step, and then this was flag. And then what happens is every time it forms a flag, they come and then test that as a new resistance level, right? Right here. Support, resistance, right? Support, resistance, right? Support, resistance. Does it look like that? And if we look at this weekly chart, you know what I mean? I mean, the week has not ended, so it just looks like this little candles there really look like another small bearish candle and bearish flag there, right? If we can, this is more like a stair step though. If you look at these, and this look like a little, it could go little more. It could go one more week or so, right? That's the theory. That when I go to 65 minutes on Apple, I'm saying that, hey, this could just keep doing that. But then when we go weekly, we could do maybe one more week like this, and then bam, right? After hitting that, maybe this 10 has been strong resistance there, so this 10 comes up, hit that, bam, right? And then go to 360, which is that that pivot area here, and then the 200 weekly 200 has been residing here, which could meet and then find some support there. So that's kind of my thing. That's kind of my analysis on Apple. Lastly, BlackBerry. I wanted to look at BlackBerry. Looking at 65 minutes, this is where I got in, that right there, right? I was looking at just at that, and then I was sending alerts to my VIP members that I would get in long at this point, because I was looking at the MACD bullish divergence, and as well as when I went to daily, during the day, it looked that's what it looked like. This candle didn't look like that. It looked like this candle right here with the bigger scale. So I said, you know what, this reminds me of this. This reminds me of this, but the difference is that this time, first of all, this time we're finding, here, let me draw it a little bit better. findings, this uptrend support has been mighty, right? You can see that it has been very mightily used as for bulls, right? You can see it every time you hit it, it finds great support. However, we broke below that, but once it breaks a trend line like that, what you would expect is that you would expect bears really take over and just take this down to hell, right? Because you can see this is a level where bears want to take it down. However, bulls really contained it. And then was it today's Wednesday, so Tuesday, Monday with a huge follow through. So what happened was when bulls came back at this day, this support line wasn't dead yet. This support line still has some. It was compromised, and it does have its vulnerability. However, its potency still remains, just because bulls were able to gain access back to this side. You know what I mean? The side where they like to be in. So then I was looking at that. We found support there. You can see that a wick there. We found support there, and so that's kind of what I was hoping, that it's gonna find support. You know what I mean? You've been finding support here, so wow, we could find support there. And then one of my theories, I missed that move. I didn't get in here because it happened so fast, and it didn't give me a chance to get in there. And my motto is, once I miss a trade, I do not chase it. I never do it. Even if it goes to 300, I will not chase it, never. But I wait until it pulls back. I would wait until it doesn't pull back, it continues, I don't get in. That's one thing took me a long time to learn, and it's very hard to do. It just takes a lot of discipline, but long run you will realize that you are more in control. But anyway, so that's what it looked like this, but the difference was that candle actually that's what it looked like that earlier that day, before the huge candle came. That looked like a little shooting star candle. But the difference was, I was writing this alert for my VIP members, the difference was we are trading below moving average at this time, which means that momentum of this current is on the downside, because this is more bearish, because it's moving average still above them. But difference here is that moving average is below them. So what does that mean? It means that current, the big tide, is on the bull side, which means there's a little bit more of a push. Just like when you're in the ocean, right? If you don't move around, if you just float around, where is it going to take you? It's going to take you wherever the tide is going. So that's what we're going to look at, and that's what I looked at. Also, just looking at the 100 SMA and 200 SMA start to really, it's still moving sideways, but start to get up there. So, and also looking at that, 10, 20, 50 going there, that really gave me good confidence that, hey, you know what, I'm willing to, let's go 65 minutes. This was that. I'm willing to get in here. I'm gonna, I say, hey, if maybe you can get in here, put your stop, maybe even tight stop there. And maybe even somewhere here to see if it's gonna play out. See how it's gonna play out, and that was an hour after that. I think around 2:30 or so, and I didn't even know 2:30 or so. All of a sudden, bam! That's what happened. So also, I was looking at MACD divergence. BlackBerry here. Let me look at this one. So this is BlackBerry, 65 minutes. There's that divergence I saw, and then what I saw was this. That after this grind, got that little grind there. Boom, bulls come back. Boom. I mean, we can't time it. I mean, how can we time it, right? It's almost impossible. I mean, this could have just kept going down to 1350, and I might have got stopped out. But it was a chance that I was willing to take. It just the formation was so, so identical right here before the boom, right? So it just that when you look at these formations, they're very identical, because people who trade the BlackBerry, the investors and traders and the institutions and fund managers and things like that, these guys are willing to get in at these levels. When they get certain level, they're willing to get in. They're willing to get in. They're willing to get in on these pullbacks. That's what they're saying. Well, got up, pullback. I'm willing to get in. Got up, pullback. I'm willing to get in. got up, pulled back, and that's what, so that's kind of why we study technical analysis, and we study Mackie and looking at these indicators, is because we're looking at the sentiment. We're not just looking at these lines and then these lines there, so I'm going to go along. That's not what we're looking at all. We're looking at sentiment of the market, sentiment of this each stock, and there's a different behaviors it does. So I really think that it can probably get to fill this gap, probably could act like support. I wouldn't mind it coming down, test that, and then get up to $18 level here. What I don't want to see is I don't want it to go like just erratic, like penny stock like behavior. You know, this is greed, fear, greed, fear. That's what it was. Now we settle down. What I want to see is just steady movement. Nothing too fancy, nothing too fast. Okay, I don't want any fast and the furious movement. What I want to see is that come get here, feel it. You know, if you maybe close above it to better momentum, but if you can't close above it, I don't mind coming back down. Maybe I'll, you know, do a little bull flag, just rest a little bit and then thrust, right? And come back down a little bit and then thrust. You know, that way we can find that momentum. That way we can find that, you know, just the right side, right speed of you know, a bullish trend. You know, instead of just going straight up and straight down, and it's just very ugly, and it's very, you know, it's just, I just don't want to get into that. It's just this is, to me, it's just ugly action, and I was kind of mostly, you know, I was trying to short this here and got in a little bit, but I just didn't want to participate in that. But now we are finding some great, you know, the uptrend support still intact. So let's build something here. Let's start building something here. Nothing too fancy, nothing too fast and furious, but something steady. And then, you know, if we can do that, maybe BlackBerry can find some great momentum, because this could actually look at it as a stage one in Weinstein's analysis, or, you know, stage analysis. This could be a stage one turning into stage two. You know what I mean? So turning into stage 2 to 3. You know what I mean? Before we get to 4. But the, you know, the most profitable, you know, post-profitable stage is 2 and 3. So that's what we could turn into. But it just needs to have that solid and step-by-step movement with the building that uptrend by making, you know, higher lows and higher highs. So that's what I think about it. And you know what? You know, I don't think this is where we should fear about the market that it's going to tank. I really don't think that's going to happen, but I think this is where we should be a little bit cautious about it. And but I wouldn't mind still buying some, you know, stock, going long in some stocks. You know what I mean? This isn't where I wouldn't completely, you know, take out long positions on stocks. I mean, I wouldn't go long on indexes, but I wouldn't mind go long with the different stocks and whatnot. So anyways, thank you very much for tuning in. I do this midweek update on a weekly basis, and next week I'm gonna be doing one for a live front of audience. And if you go to my blog, if you go to events calendar, you can sign up there. It's a free event. You can get onto my webinar platform, and you can ask questions and stuff like that. So that's what I'm gonna be doing next Wednesday. Hope you guys sign up for that. But thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for following, and you guys have a great week and great trading days. Thanks.